but we feel like our affections towards him are performance-based. If you do good for me, I will praise you. If you do not, I will be silent and I will hold my praise and admiration. And this just isn't the way that we should be approaching the Lord.
Under a coverage of prayer and protection, but at some point you can't hold them back from their mistakes. Yeah. You've got to let the Lord work.
All right. Well, hey, welcome back to the Salt and Send podcast. What a blessing it is. Every opportunity we get to be together. And that's what I'm trying to do here, is just create another touch point middle of the week, somewhere where we can just get another opportunity to meet you where you are, whether you drive for work or whether you work over the road, or you just kind of have a commute, whether you just are looking for something theologically sound that you can dig into. So you're not listening to some sports channel or gossip channel or whatever it is that your mind or your heart lends itself towards. Maybe you're looking for just another chance to be around your church body, and this is just kind of brings you into that. I don't know what it looks like for you, but what I do know is this: that the Salt and Send podcast is for you. It's a place for you to connect here to Grace Community Church. And let me just give you the lay of the land. First of all and foremost, we exist for the purpose of helping you become like Jesus and go make disciples. Salt and Send. Become like Jesus, go make disciples. That's our heart. That is the desire that we have. The reason why I do this every Tuesday is to give you an opportunity to be like Jesus and go make disciples. And so the way we kind of do that is we take the stuff that we have been studying throughout the week and teaching throughout the week. So our Wednesday night groupings and our Sunday morning gatherings, we take that stuff, we distill it down, we bring out some of the main points, we talk about some of the study that didn't get inserted into the sermon or the rest of it. And then we just kind of talk about that stuff. I'll bring on interviews with some interesting people. Shay Doverspike will be the part 2 today. At the end of this, we'll go ahead and lump that in. So I'm going to try and sneak through this episode rather quickly, so we can just get right into the conversation we had with Shay. And then we will go ahead and dive into kind of some cultural events, but we won't do that this week because of the interview with Shay. But we typically talk about some cultural events and things going on, and then we talk about some other stuff too, just as necessary. But this gives us an outlet to talk to you for another hour a week and just kind of be a part of it. So let's get into it. Let's dive into our Wednesday night gathering. So every Wednesday here at Grace, we get together and we do the hard work of getting to know Jesus a little bit deeper, and in prayer for one another, and we spend that time intermingled with one another. And one of the things that kind of came to light last week, we've been reading this book called Fresh Wind, Fresh Fire. It's written in like the 70s by Jim Cymbala, and it kind of chronicles how they went through their own transitions with the Brooklyn Tabernacle and all the work that it took to get that church off the ground. And really, the work was, and we'll talk about this in a minute, the work was the most important work that the church can be doing, which is prayer. And the more that he was able to lean upon the Lord and the graciousness of God, the more he was able to really see the Lord work in real and tangible ways. And it really kind of made me stop and realize, because so far in these 4 chapters, he just continuously is bringing praise to the Lord for what he's been doing. And it made me stop and realize, like, oh my goodness, prayer isn't a reaction that comes in easy seasons. It's a decision that we make in hard ones. And so think about it kind of like this. If I'm the only time that I ever pray, the only time I ever spend in honest reflection and honestly coming to the Lord with no agenda, just saying, God, you've been good to me, and I want to say thank you. If the only time that we're ever doing that is in the easy times, then that means that I feel like I praise God based upon performance. And we're going to talk about that a little bit when we talk about the raising kids portion in the Sunday sermon, but we feel like our affections towards him are performance based. If you do good for me, I will praise you. If you do not, I will be silent and I will withhold my praise and admiration. And this just isn't the way that we should be approaching the Lord. This isn't how we come to him. This isn't the way that that he has crafted our relationship to be built with him. And so the idea is that true praise really comes when I decide to show him honor and glory even when things are not going my way. And Jim Cymbala kind of talks about this a little bit in the chapter that we read, chapter 4, where it came down to the life of his daughter Chrissy. Now, his daughter Chrissy was a bit wayward, and she had around 16 years old. This kind, quiet, compliant young lady had decided, you know what, going my own way, doing my own thing. I don't need mom and dad. I don't need the church. I don't need God. I just need, the only thing that I need really truly is to do what Chrissy wants to do. And she did that. And she sought after relationships that were unhealthy and behaviors that were unhealthy. And there was about a 2.5 year period where they lost her. And they realized rather quickly that, you know what, unless the Lord changes her heart isn't changing. So we just need to shut our mouths and pray. And that's what they did. They just shut their mouths and they prayed. And then one day, suddenly his daughter shows up at the door, and it came directly after someone in their church said, "We need to pray intentionally for Chrissy. She is running after things that are harmful for her. She is chasing after a wayward lifestyle. We need to sit down and really pray for her." And she could feel their prayers, and it turned her heart back to God. And so for Jim, it kind of happened when he realized that the situation wasn't going to shift or change unless Chrissy shifted and changed. And so Chrissy wasn't going to shift and change unless God impressed upon her heart. There was no amount of talk from mom and dad that was going to do that for her. So they prayed, and they were intentional about it, and they dug deep into it, and it really did change the situation. That God showed up. He impressed upon her that she needed to return home. And so the question I asked the group was this: what defines us as a church? What is the defining feature of Grace Community? Is it are we a church that fellowships well? I hear that before, and I've heard it a bunch of times. Like, man, that church they just get together and they spend a lot of time and enjoy one another's company, and that's absolutely true. We have phenomenal people here. We have some of the most amazing members that come to this church, and so yeah, we fellowship, and we fellowship really well, and we enjoy one another's company, and we dive into life with one another all the time. Yeah. Are we a church that has a lot of fun activities? And we are. We have a great VBS. Our people were here today working on our VBS and trying to help get it off the ground and get things ready and rolling there. So yeah, we have an awesome VBS. Is that the thing that we're going to be known for? Well, maybe. Maybe that's what people are going to know about us. Could it be that we have some really good music? Is it good preaching? What is the thing that is going to impress upon the hearts of our people and going to bring hearts closer to Jesus? What is that thing? And so yeah, we were kind of asking that question, and the question I wanted really to be answered is this: is prayer something that we are known for? So let's say, for example, someone local has a large and unexpected health issue, and they suddenly realize, you know what, I need to be prayed for. Like I unless God intervenes, there's no hope here. I need some prayer. Would they come seek out Grace Community Church because they know we're a church of prayer? And I would argue they would not. We have maybe about 10% of the church that comes to our prayer meetings. We have prayer meetings every week, and so if prayer is not the thing, if someone in our town was desperate, would they come to us for prayer? And the answer is no. We need to change that. And so we started really kind of reconfiguring our time on Wednesday nights away from teaching and Bible study as much as into prayer meeting and opportunities to give verbal praise to the Lord. So, and not to not to oversimplify, but at the same time not overcomplicate. How do you become a church known for prayer? You pray. Like, that is the way. That's the pathway. That's the system. That is how you get there. To become a church that is known as a church, that's a church of prayer, you must spend time intentionally in prayer. So that's the goal, and that's the idea. We don't build strategies. We don't have programs. Not that those things are bad, but we're not building those things. What we're building is consistent and persistent times of desperate prayer before the Lord. And so the reality, though, is that because I think a lot of people have this feeling, God shows up only when there's trouble, only when there's difficulty, only when there's hardship does God show up. But the reality is that God walked with Adam in the garden on a daily basis. There was a certain time of day that they knew that the Lord was going to show up and that he was going to go with them. Okay. That doesn't show that God shows up in trouble. That shows that God's intentional, that he seeks you out, that he is in pursuit of you. So he doesn't just come running when things fall apart. He's already walking with you. And this is the idea, that we should be in constant walking with the Lord. And it really is going to apply to our Sunday morning gathering as well. But it's actually in Deuteronomy chapter 4 that Moses writes, what great a nation is this that has their God so near? And as the Lord our God is. And it's just this idea that the Lord is walking with his people, that he is showing up on our behalf, that he's diving into your life, and he is active in and through everything that you have going on. Because this life is not simply just physical. There's also spiritual realities. There's also very real, very vibrant spiritual realities going on right here, right now, that the Lord is showing up in real and tangible ways. And we'll talk about this in the interview with Shay, but I really do believe that a lot of what we would call spiritual warfare, spiritual battles that people are facing today aren't so much spiritual battles as they are hardship and trials that the Lord brings our way. Because I think Satan's tactic, in America at least, is this: keep the people comfortable, make sure that they have want for nothing, and if you can do that, then you've got their heart, and they will never stray from you. And so I think that's, in my opinion, as far as what I can see, that is what Satan has been doing in the world around us currently, is trying to ensure that no one ever experiences hardship and goes through difficult times. And so your prayer life becomes occasional because there isn't desperate need. And the reality, though, that I want to kind of lay at your feet is that you might not feel like there's desperate need, but there's desperate need. And we need to arrive before the Lord in ways that only he can show up. So that was our Wednesday night gathering, and that's what we've been talking through. And we've been trying to reshape our Wednesday night time into one that is of praise and petition before the Lord, in those two things, praise and petition, and really show people the value of that. But listen, I'm a part of a pastor's group. We meet first Tuesday of every month. I think it's first Tuesday of every month. Yep. And we met this week, just today, and one of the guys just said, when we first started a couple months ago, October, November, there's a lot of people here. If anyone would be honest and just completely honest with us, maybe the reason that no one is showing up is because it's just not important to them. Is prayer not important to the pastors and spiritual leaders? They say they're too busy. Well, you're not too busy for important things. I'm sure Sunday's a busy day. Do you ever say, I'm just not going to be able to preach today because I'm really, really busy? No, absolutely not. That's an important thing. That's something you do. You prepared for it. So why aren't you preparing for this? It's once a month. And so, is prayer important to us, and important enough to us to actually invest time in it whenever the time comes to be invested in it? Well, that's the question. Are we known as a people of prayer. Now, let's move on to the Sunday morning gathering. So we had a 2-part series going through parenting and talking about the idea of bringing our children closer to the Lord and diving into that. And so this week was part 2 of that. And so the I want to read a passage for you. It's Psalm 127, verses 1 through 5, a song of ascents, Solomon. So Solomon writes this song, and he says this: "Unless the Lord builds the house, those who build it labor in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the watchman stays awake in vain. And it is in vain that you rise up early and go to bed, or go late to rest, eating the bread of anxious toil, for he gives to his beloved sleep. Behold, children are a heritage of the Lord, the fruit of the womb is a reward. Like arrows in the hand of a warrior are the children of one's youth. Blessed is the man who fills his quiver with them. He shall not be put to shame when he speaks to his enemies in the gate." Okay, couple of things going on here. I always tell the church this: if you see the Bible and you're reading the Bible and it's going this direction, then suddenly it makes a hard left and goes a different direction, pay attention to that. Pay attention to that shift in direction. And so what you see here is this isn't a random transition. This is on purpose. You kind of see a 3-parter here. First is that for all of your efforts and labor, unless God is building it, all your efforts and labor are worthless and have no purpose. So unless God builds, unless God watches over, unless God takes care of, all your effort has no point. And so he starts with that. The next thing he says is that you can do all your work, but the fact is that what God gives his beloved is rest. So what this world gives you and what trying to achieve gives you is a whole lot of effort that is meaningless. And few things are as frustrating in this world today. Few things can make you as angry today as pointless work. I would argue this all day long. Pointless, like for me, doing mindless tasks is one of the most frustrating things that I'll ever go through. And so sometimes I have to reframe the task and say, like, this isn't a mindless task. This is a mindless task that meets the end of feeding my family, and therefore it's not pointless. It just isn't that important. Like, it's not the most vital thing that I've ever done in my entire life. It's just a task, and so it's still meeting a greater purpose, and I have to reframe it that way. But he goes to this, right? And he says, like, hey, you might wear yourself out in mindless tasks or in pointless tasks because unless God's building it, there's not much success going to be had there. And then he says, like, but God's children rest. So that's a short piece, but it's something like he gives to his beloved sleep. And then he says in the next piece, children are a heritage from the Lord, like arrows in the hand of a warrior. Now, kind of trying to pair all this together and just kind of talk about all this together. So unless the Lord is involved in your parenting, no matter how great of a relationship that you build with your kids, it's not going to be of value. Like unless you are able to build a relationship with your children that will love them, encourage them, that will build them up, that will make them the most confident and competent people on the planet. But if God's not in it, it's worthless. And so unless you're building with God, you're in trouble. And one of the very few things will keep a parent awake, like not knowing where their children are at. And if you kind of are able to put your children into the hands of God and say, please take them, please walk together with them, please make them a part of your own, and please help them to become the people that you would have them be, unless you're able to do that, then you're not going to sleep. Right? Like rest is going to evade you. You're going to be tired a lot because you're going to be staying awake a lot. And so the idea, though, that also kind of accompanies this is when a warrior has a quiver full of good arrows, then he doesn't need to be fearful, because he knows that when he pulls that arrow back and he aims it true and he releases, that it's going to hit its mark. It's been created to hit its mark, and it has been aimed at its mark. And then in the midst where you have no control, so the moment of release, you have zero control over your children. You have no say over where they go or what they do. At the moment of release, you are then able to say, I can trust God completely with where they're going, because I have trusted him completely in the raising process and the building them up and the preparing them, and now in their release, I trust him there as well. So we talked a little bit about how you create arrows and what they're built for, and what different roles and tasks they are to complete. So I actually brought up two different arrows. There was a hunting arrow and a target arrow, and they look very different, right? If you haven't seen that, go jump on the sermon portion of our Sunday morning. But the target arrow has extremely high, very precise in its build, and that reflects in the cost of it. They're decently more expensive than your regular hunting arrow, and so you see the target arrow is very precise in its build. It's very precise in where the fletches go. It's very precise in its in the point that's on the front of it. It's glued in. It can't be removed, and it is perfectly flush with the rest of the arrow. It is the length is perfect. The weight is perfect. You know that all of them, every single one, if they're a good target shooter and they've built their setup right, have built an absolutely perfect setup in the arrows, because the arrows are one of the few things that you can build out and control so that they're consistent. And so, you also see that they're very big around. So if you ever looked at target arrows, they're very big around, because the only purpose they have is punching holes in paper. And you want to get as close to the line as you possibly can. And that means if your arrow is a little bit bigger around, it might cut the line, so your marginal shots become decent shots, because it still gets the higher amount of points, because it's bigger around. And so it's built for that. Now, a hunting arrow is built to go a whole lot faster. And a target arrow, I don't care how fast it goes. It just needs to hit the target. In fact, arguably, slower is better. It's more accurate. Because in target, a lot of times you're shooting indoors, and there just isn't the effects of the nature and the climate to change the way the arrow flies. And so it's very consistent. And but a hunting one, I want it to be faster, because a lot can change in the woods. The wind can pick up. It might hit kind of a pocket of warm air and kind of affect the way the arrow flies. It might hit a leaf or a twig. The animal might move. You know, there's all kinds of things that might change. And also, it's very thin. It's very thin because I want it to penetrate deeper. It hits a little bit harder, and it's able to carry its momentum a little bit better downrange. And so this is kind of the idea. They're both purpose built. They are designed for the purpose of getting people to achieve their stated goal, that be score high in target shooting, or to be successful in the field when you hunt. Now, here's what I want you to see. Unless the Lord build the house, right? Your children must be built by God. Like, your children are created by God, they're formed by God, but then you need to be actively, don't parent them by yourself. Parent them with the Lord as they've been built. Build them up in the Lord. Your children have been purpose-built by God to reach a certain end. You need to know what that is, so you don't just blindly send them downrange, but so that you're able to send them downrange in such a way that they can get where they're supposed to be. You don't want to aim your child at the wrong target. That's just the reality. But a lot of times parents have poorly aimed goals for their kids, because they haven't taken the work of getting to really know the heart of their child. They just they look at someone else's kid and they're like, oh, I want my kid to be like that. Or they'll look at their own life and say, I'd like my kid to succeed in places that I did not, or I'd like to see my kid grow. And, you see the dad, that has a kid who's gifted in one area but tries to force them into another, or the dad who's really into sports and wants his kid to be a sports star so he can kind of live in the glory of that. But that's a heart problem, right? And it's a heart problem for mom and dad that you're not partnering with God to build your child. But listen, like we said a minute ago, unless God builds the house, those who labor in vain. So are you building, are you encouraging, are you aiming your child in such a way that they are being built up in the way that God would have them built up? Are you actively fighting against God in how he has created your child, or are you fighting with God and helping to raise your child in the same exact way that God created them to be raised? And this is really the challenge, I think, that a lot of times we run up against, is that that sin is already present in your kid's heart. Like your goal isn't to craft personality and to create into them all the skills and abilities. God does that. Your role is to try as best as you can to help form their hearts so it bends towards God and not towards their own sin. And so this is what we are seeking to do and try and be. And so how do we catch the heart of our kid? Now this is the core of what we taught. Number one, it was in Deuteronomy 6. If your heart isn't captured by God, then your kid's heart won't either. And so that's how he started. Deuteronomy 6, he's like, listen, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your might, with all your strength. And so mind, soul, strength. So body, will, and intentions, and then the eternal parts of you, your soul. Love the Lord with everything that you have. Give everything that you have over to him. You can't lead your kids a place that you're not going yourself. So your heart, if your heart's not captured, you're going to have a hard time capturing your kid's heart. And so once again, if you build without the Lord, you build in vain. This is the idea. If you're building without God, you're building in vain. And then the next thing I'd encourage you to do, and I talked about Sunday, is building those daily times of connection. Not big. It's not these humongous breakthroughs, but it's these little interactions that you're going to have with your kid that's going to build them up. You're going to go on conversations with them. You go on walks with them. You have the everyday moments where you're making dinner, where you're doing homework, where you have these chances that you can sit down with your little one and be like, hey, here's what God has for you. Let me walk with you in it. And you'll see these moments arise, because he said that, like, right when you rise up, when you lie down, when you walk by the way, when and when you eat meal, and this is kind of the way that the Lord has crafted us to work, is that in these little moments, you just kind of build it up. And the way I kind of described it was building a mountain out of layers of paint. And I even referenced this, so this would be a baseball that has just been coated with layers of paint over and over and over again until this is what it ends up like. And this is what we're doing in the heart of our child, is that we're trying to build them up in such a way that they are that over time they kind of form and develop to be a lot more like Jesus. So that's the idea that came about Sunday morning, is this idea of knowing your kid's heart, being fully known and fully loved. We talk about this, right? Grace and truth, knowledge and love paired together, walking together. And so one of the hardships, I think, a lot of parents experience is affirming their child when their child succeeds. So when they do something good, they get a good grade, they have a good interaction at school, they hit a home run, they hit a perfect score in their tumble and cheer, like whatever that is, we give them praise, we tell them how proud we are of them, we give them a big hug, they get flowers and a present, we take them out for ice cream, whatever, and then they start to believe that our love and our affections for them are performance-based, and that just can't be true. You cannot let your child believe that somehow that their performance is what dictates whether or not you are going to be loving and affectionate towards them. So if you want to see your kid really formed for this moment, like I'd argue this. Everything you do from those small intentional moments should be for the purpose of forming identity. They need a foundation of who they are in Jesus. And you build that foundation, and you form that foundation, right? Once again, letting God be the builder, letting Him stand there and say, like, this block goes here, and this brick goes here, and this we're going to put sidewalk here, and we're going to put doors on here, like letting God build the person out, because or if you think about the arrow, thinking like we're going to make him this diameter, and they're going to be this strong, and they're going to having all that stuff, because at some point you are going to have to release that arrow. And you want to make sure you've aimed it at the proper target, because here's the reason, and here's where so many parents get anxiety. The moment of release you cease to have any control at the moment of release. At the moment that you release that arrow out into the world, you have no control over it from there on out. And you want to do everything you can to ensure it hits its target. And that's why I talk about building on identity in Jesus Christ, letting God be the builder, and doing all that you can to capture the heart, because you want them to be able to move in such a way that they land at the correct target. So that's what we talked about Sunday morning. And here's just, if I could kind of close it up with this. Your job, your responsibility here is not to control the arrow. It's for you to know them, to shape them, to aim them, and then trust God with them at the moment of release. So when you release them into the world, you can trust that God is going to get them where they're to be, because He alone actually has control, ultimately, over these individuals. So yeah, those are the things we talked about this week. Let me wrap this up by saying this. We have a couple big events coming up. So this weekend we have our Mother's Day gathering. So I think that's Saturday. We have a dinner for our mothers. Grateful to them for all that they've done for us. We have our Mother's Day gathering. We have our Ladies' Tea is coming up, so our Ladies Guild is putting on a kind of a little tea gathering for our women. So ladies, go ahead and be a part of that. Also, you want to get signed up now for our kids camp, our Penn West Clarion Kids Camp. The spots are filling up very quickly, so get yourself or your kids, your grandkids, signed up for kids camp. We are looking for volunteers if you want to do that. And then finally, I'd say this. We are looking for volunteers in all of our kids ministry. The entirety of our kids ministry could use some more people. So please consider stepping in and helping out. We could really use a hand with that. All right, I don't want to pause it anymore. We're already 32 minutes in, so I'm going to go ahead and just kick us right over to Shay doing her thing, and we get to be a part of this conversation, guys. You might need to pull over. You might need to get the tissues and dab a little bit. This is a fantastic conversation with Shay, where she is extremely open and honest, and she really shares with us her heart and what's going on and what has been forming her. Once again, this is God building the house, right? And Shay is evidence of what it looks like when God builds a house. And so go ahead and enjoy the second half of my conversation with Miss Shay Dover-Spike. All right, well, welcome back to part 2 of Salt and Send, having Miss Shay with us to interview, talk through parenting and some of the stuff that affects a human being trying to raise human beings. And you mentioned last week you hadn't heard the sermon yet, and I was sparse on details, to say the least. So now you've heard. What do you think?
It's interesting, after listening to what you and I talked about and then listening to your sermon, how much aligned.
Okay.
And I had no idea, but I think that just goes to show God and His goodness. And like when things are God-driven and God-centered, like that's what you're going to have. You're going to have that alignment. The biggest thing that I took away is how we both talked about the posture of the heart. I talked about that last week when we did like what being kingdom-minded meant. And the closer your heart as a parent is to Jesus, I feel like that draws your child in to Jesus more.
For sure.
And that's kind of like what you talked about too, is
Yeah, capture the heart, don't change behavior.
Right. And we talked about all that last time too, like the behavior modification versus like getting to the heart of your child and leading them to Jesus. And I think that's like parenting 101.
Yeah,
in biblical parenting.
Well, it's the I don't know how much, if I talked about much in the sermon. I talked about in the podcast for sure. But authoritative parenting or behavior modification parenting will only be successful as long as the child's under your authority and under that umbrella. The moment they're gone, or the moment they go out to a friend's house, or then at that point they're going to do what their heart's telling them to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And we'll get into that today when we talk about releasing your arrows and all that. But little God wink for you to follow up with your sermon, and this is just how God works. And I love when you read the Bible and like you've read something 1,000 times, but then when like something's on your mind, or like you're really focused or like steady and centered on it, Holy Spirit like opens up.
Yeah, it comes at you a different angle.
Yeah, right, which is why the word is so good. So on Monday, obviously listened to your sermon on Sunday, and on Monday I've been reading through Matthew, chapter 18.
Oh yeah, discipline.
Yeah, well, when the disciples ask who's the greatest, right, they're talking about like who's the greatest in the kingdom of heaven, and Jesus says,
"Not so among you."
Huh?
Not so among you.
Well, he says the children.
Oh yeah.
Right. So Jesus called a little child to him, set him in the midst of them, and said, "Assuredly, I say to you, unless you are converted and become as little children, you will by no means enter the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah.
Therefore, whoever humbles himself as a little child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven." And I was like, oh man, that's so good.
Yeah.
Like when we're talking about kids and we're talking about like being kingdom minded and wanting our children to be disciples, like the disciples are asking, how can I be the greatest? Like, who's the greatest? I want to be the greatest. And Jesus is like, you've got to be like a kid.
Right.
And so what does that say about our heart posture and about parenting and about the posture of a child's heart and what Jesus meant by, like, I want to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, the dichotomy between childish and childlike are very different. And so I know a lot of childish adults, and that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
That's not something God would command. There's like grow up, mature, stop getting milk, like you need to eat some meat, there's that. But then at the same time being childlike, which is ultimate trust, ultimate belief, ultimate leaning on the authority of the Lord, and trusting in him to do what only he can do. And so as a parent in the parent-child relationship, I stand in the place of God, as dad. And that means I shepherd, I lead, I bring the heart. And so I've had this conversation with our son, who 10 years old, and starts to posture himself as, well, I'm equal with you. And I have that conversation where I'm like, buddy, in this scenario, we're not equals. Dad is above you in authority. You are below in authority. That means you submit to dad. You submit to mom.
Right.
You don't have to submit to your sister. You do have to submit to your mother and father, and so we have.
Sister's not boss.
Yeah, we have and but they try and like, in my room, am I the boss?
Oh yeah.
And
when it's my birthday, do I get to be the boss?
Special privilege, like I had a good day at school. Can I be the boss of something?
Yeah.
Because everyone wants to be the boss of something, and so. But it's layers of submission and like trying to see myself as, okay, I need to submit to Christ. My child submits to me. They they make their stuffed animal submit. I don't know. But they get something to listen to them. And so, there's just layers of submission. Like I submit to the law. I submit, I pay my taxes, that sort of thing. Like we have those conversations. Yeah. And so, even having that talk with them, being like, hey, if you can't seem to get your kind of emotional state under control, because sometimes he'll have a big emotional outburst and he's like, and it's just, he can't seem to control himself. Yeah. I'll say, listen, bud, like the reality is if you can't control this, someone's going to do it for you. And you really don't want someone else coming along and controlling you. That's not something you desire. So it's a conversation we have with them all the time about that idea of, becoming like a child, like I have to model that out for my kid.
Yeah, exactly.
You
That's
know.
kind of where my heart and my head went, is like, okay, God is saying that like we need to humble ourselves again. Where is our heart posture at? And we need to be like a child in the sense that like we need to be able to be trained, right? We need to be able to be disciplined. And what we kind of defined last week is being trained, being taught, not punished, but disciplined.
Yeah.
And when we do that, that's when we become the greatest, because our heart posture is solely leaning on the Lord. And that's what we want for our kids, right? We want our kids to solely trust us and trust that we know what's best for them, in the same way that like God the Father wants our heart posture to be in that childlike sense.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's so good.
And it's hard, like, because I maybe you have an answer to this. I didn't really have one. I talked with a few people yesterday that we just struggled through an adult child, 19 years old, adult for sure, still developing the brain, all that stuff, but like still an adult, wants to move forward in their life in a way that their parents disagree with. And out of the house, living on their own, starting their career, just kind of a whole lot of stuff going on. But at the same time, like, still very young, and so there's just a disagreement in, like for the kid, they were like, I don't want to take advice from people whose lives I don't respect and whose direction I don't want to go. And they're saying you really haven't seen enough life to make some of these decisions you're trying to make. And so like it was just, so where would you advise in this space? Like, how do you honor mom and dad and at the same time move your own life forward in ways that you feel are right and good?
Oh my gosh. That's so heavy.
Yeah. I'm just going to send them to you, actually.
It's hard for me. And I think what we agreed we want to talk about today is like putting our arrows on mission. Like going back to the like arrows, where our children are like arrows in our quiver.
Yeah.
And we prepare them and we get them ready, but God didn't give them to us to stay in the quiver. They are meant to be released and meant to go out into the world. It does no good and is not God's plan and God's purpose to give you children to keep in a bubble, to keep in your quiver. Like, you are, as Christian parents, called to put them on mission, to release them to a point to further God's kingdom, right? And at some point you have to do that. And I feel like there's going to be a lot of backlash. Like, her oldest is 10. She doesn't, she's not there yet.
What does she know about this?
What does she know about this? And I don't. And I can only prepare myself in my heart in the way that the Lord has shown me. And I like to think moving forward, when I get to that point, my heart will be ready, because I've prayed for it and I've sought the Lord in all things. So as a 19-year-old child, but adult, you've got to let him go.
Yeah.
Under a coverage of prayer and protection, but at some point you can't hold them back from their mistakes. You've got to let the Lord work. And at some point you got to release your arrow and just,
because I asked that question straight up. I was like, are you hovering and holding on?
And as a parent, like, yes.
And
yes,
like,
I am.
And they said no. They're like, no, we're not. We just think that this decision is an unwise decision that our child's trying to walk into. And so yeah, we talked through that. But like, I kind of like just heard them out, listened, offered some opposing ideas. I've been counseling with this person for a little bit, and just kind of said, like, I'm not going to violate the counseling room, but I will. I did ask permission to share a little bit, and they gave it to me. And, so like, so just kind of doing all that. But like, it just kind of, sorry to derail you, but yeah.
No, that's good, because let's just jump into, I mean, what does it look like to, last week we talked about like when our kids are young and we're kind of in that same space with little kids and getting into like preteen years, but teenagers and, young adult kids, releasing that arrow, getting them ready to come out of the quiver and be on mission for the Lord and aimed at a target. That's a whole other, that's part 2 of parenting.
Yeah, it's a tough, it's a tough thing to make those transitions from like child to peer, and kind of start to release off to, like how do you, and you can prepare your heart for it, but at the same time it's it's gonna come hard.
It's come fast.
And so,
Yeah.
and it's not gonna be necessarily simple. It's not something that you're like, oh
No.
yeah, it's time to let them go. They're 18. Go. And I've seen parents do that, but I've never seen someone that I respected their parenting do that. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times it's like they're 18, they're on their own, and it's just like,
and I don't know if like there's an age.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, 18, they're legally an adult, but your 18-year-old child might not be at the same, or you might have a 16-year-old child who is super mature, spiritually sound, and you're ready to let that arrow go, where you kind of take the reins back. And so I think, again, that's, you can't parent textbook. Like, you have to know the heart of your child.
Yeah. And that's what we talk about Sunday.
Yeah. And trust God to lead in those moments. But I think I can go ahead and say pretty confidently that the biggest issue we have releasing our arrows is fear. And I think, we could talk about this for hours. There's so many, we could get into like the spiritual warfare that goes along with the enemy infiltrating and placing fear in our hearts and our minds as parents because they don't want our arrows to be released, right?
Well, yeah, I think they're like, okay, so as an archer, from a hunting standpoint, and it's a different conversation because I care more about the target than the arrow, but not in parenting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Great, you're just going to shake up like arrows here for me a little bit.
So one of the kind of things like as an archer is, one, an arrow is useless in my quiver. It's more than useless. It is a liability. It gets stuck on stuff. It has a high likelihood of stabbing me.
It's heavy back there.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's not necessary.
Where do you carry a quiver? On your back? On your side?
On the bow itself. So it's attached to the bow itself.
And so it's not like a.
No. That's an old style. And when I do target shooting, I have one.
That's what I think of.
Yeah.
Like it's on your back.
Yeah,
or it's like it's like this weight.
Yeah,
right?
I have a hip quiver, and it's the hip.
hip.
That I can like I said, if I'm going like a target shoot, I carry that. Unless it's getting up on hunting season, like we're getting nerdy right now. Right. Unless it's getting up on hunting season, then I put it on the bow because I need to be used to the balance and the counterweight of it.
Okay.
So that's
that tracks,
like,
right?
Yeah.
Like okay.
So like depending on circumstance, that's where I need the arrows to be. But like, and also like, sometimes I don't hit target, so I need to shoot again, and I need that fast. And so I can't have it in some weird spot. I need it right there. And so now when I get up in the tree stand, I put it in an accessible place off the bow because it does throw you off balance. Anyway, and so, but like they have a very sharp tip. There's a good chance I get stuck with that if I'm just being foolish with it, or if it's in the quiver. Like the best place for it is downrange. Yeah. Like that's just the reality is I need to release it. And so at the same time, there's an incredible respect for and fear of the elements around you.
Yeah.
So for me, I get pretty good at I get real good in the target practice area at double my hunting distance. So meaning like I feel comfortable hunting distance shooting 40 yards. That means at 80 yards, I'm trying to get decent shots off in the practice realm. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Because in the hunting realm, I understand I don't want to wound anything. So I need to be really confident at 80, so 40 feels easy. And a lot can happen in 40 yards. There's sticks, there's wind, there's leaves, there's the animal can jump. Like there's so much that can happen between me and 40 yards away. So I really try to be, like I said, be very confident farther out because I want that close up to feel easier. And so I don't know where that applies. Maybe preparing your kids for things that maybe they'll never see. But like,
exactly,
you know,
that's what I was going to say.
yeah.
Those are your preparing points.
Yeah.
Like when you let your child go to school and they're
Mm-hmm.
away from you, you know,
Yeah.
for
Right.
8 hours a day, and you're entrusting them to a teacher to teach them and all of these things. Release points is what like arrows would say. Like you're preparing, there's certain release points in life that you come to, and then there's the shift that happens in those release points too. We're like, okay, that was good. Like you're trustworthy. You're, you know, okay, so you let your 16-year-old go to a party or whatever.
Right.
You know, those release points where you're building that trust. You're getting comfortable at the 80 so that when the time comes, you're confident in them.
Yeah, I
at
don't,
the 40 or whatever.
you know, and that's why we try, like for our kids, we try and talk about like, okay, what's an age appropriate way for me to explain this to you without just saying like, don't worry about it, you know, or just because I said so, like, because there are times I need to have a conversation with you that's like, hey, here's why we believe what we believe and do what we do.
Yes.
And so,
and that's not textbook either.
Right.
That's like, we've had this conversation with my friends lately over, you know, discussing puberty and sex with our children, because you want them to know truth and not be influenced by culture.
For sure.
You know, you want them to know, and this is what, like, you want to get your word in there first.
Yeah, I don't want a broken culture being the source of truth for my kids. And
right.
So,
and you talked about on Sunday, like, give them a cell phone, give them access to social media.
You cease to be the source of truth.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Talk to me about social media, because
know,
Brian and I got, you know, we're tight on that.
Yeah.
No cell phones, no.
Yeah, I don't see the purpose for it. We have a landline house.
Yeah.
Like at our house.
Yeah.
And actually just got a landline for it. And
for that purpose.
And then we broke it, and because one of them pulled it off, like one of the kids pulled it off the thing, and like it's on a cord and it broke. And then we had to buy a new one. And so we have like, it's an old style looking one, like that I have to pick a handset up and it.
I love it.
And like,
I
you
love
know,
it.
and like for the first month.
Get some dial-up internet.
For real. For the first month, my mom and Amy's mom just got a call at like 6:15 in the morning because the kids were excited to use the phone, and they would be like calling. I'd come down like barely awake. They're on the phone with Nana, you know. So
yeah, but these cultural influences, you want to be the truth for it, but you have to do it in an age appropriate way.
For sure.
Right. And that's, again, there's no like at the age of 10, you have the puberty talk. At 13, you're having the sex talk.
Yeah. What's the kid's aptitude?
Yeah. Where's your kid? Where is, you know, Quinn, way more advanced than Ellie. Ellie's in La La Land 90% of the time.
Great, leave her there.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But Quinn is very,
First child.
Yes. Very in tune spiritually.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you've ever met Quinn or have set foot in this church, you've been able to see that. And that is not my doing. That is the Holy Spirit put an anointing on her from the day she was born. I mean, stories we could talk about her anxiety and the chains that were broken there and all about that. But just that she's way more in tune and ready. Her heart is ready to hear the serious conversations. Like, she loves to talk about heaven. She loves to talk about hell. She is very curious about spiritual warfare because she's gone through it. Yeah. Ellie still can't talk about things she sees on Disney movies and things like that without having nightmares and gets, you know, like,
maybe that's a second child thing because we have to be careful what we watch her.
Right, or careful what we talk about or how we approach a situation with her, because we want her to know these things are real. And she'll hear Quinn asking questions, but her little mind and heart isn't ready for that. And I feel like that's kind of across the board when you talk to your child, and when you're preparing to release them is age appropriate and kind of where their heart and their mind is. And if you pray about it, the Lord will lead you. God shows like with anything.
And I guess that's the question is like, so when you have here Miss Shea, parental counselor, sitting in her office, has someone across the couch from her that says, I'm a parent and I'm afraid to let that arrow fly. My kid's getting to the age where that's a reality, they're either going to, and it was you rewind for us as a church 3 weeks, and you get to one of our marriage talks, which was, are you perforated or are you glued? Leave and cleave,
Yes.
and so
Yeah.
it's that idea of like, are you putting the strategic cuts in place so that when your child does tear off and do their own thing, that they're not going to injure you or harm you in the mix there.
Yeah.
And so, so when a parent's sitting there, how do you biblically encourage them to let that child go?
Understanding that they are God's first.
Sure.
God created them
Yeah.
and gave them to you, and you surrender them back to God. I mean, you talked about it in First Samuel, talking about Hannah and her prayer and, dedicating him back to the Lord.
Right.
Number one.
Yeah.
God loves your child way more than you ever
Yeah.
could.
Stewardship, not ownership.
Yeah. And we are called to be ambassadors for Christ in our parenting as moms and dads, knowing that like they're God's first.
Okay.
They are God's first. Number two, I would say, is you've got to trust that God is good and that God is sovereign, and that you pray. You pray your heart out, and that's the best thing that you can do. But ultimately, you have to trust in the Lord.
Yeah.
You have to trust in the Lord that for whatever, because you have to let your child grow and learn. Like, I'm sure it wasn't easy for my parents to sit back those 2 years and be like, she is off the deep end. Like, what do we do? But we pray and we trust God and his goodness and in his plan, and he'll work it all out.
Right.
Like he always does. But it's letting go of that control and letting go of that fear and trusting in the Lord.
Yeah. And I think, once again, we go back to that idea of like, how surrendered am I to the Lord? And like, am I trusting that the love he has for me extends down to them? And am I trusting that the love I have for them is only a fraction or a poorly lit image of the love that he has for them? And so can I trust in that? Can I put my faith that God's going to, like, because my kids aren't worried about how things are going to work out. They just trust that Dad's going to work it out. Yeah. It's kind of the way that rolls for them. And that's what I want.
Right.
Like, I want my kids to think to themselves, like, I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
Dad's over that.
Yeah. And again, it's kind of that shift of, for me, it goes back to being kingdom minded, knowing that God is in control, knowing that he loves them more than I can. He can protect them better than I can. He is with them when I'm not, and praying that over them and being diligent about that, but also understanding like he's created them for this time. Yeah. And this is kind of what we were talking about before. There's this picture on Facebook. I don't do social media a lot, but I share it every single time. And it's of a mother and father, and they have like their hands up as a shield with their child, like playing with a teddy bear, reading a book or whatever.
You can show it if you like.
Yeah. Can we show it?
I don't know. We're not monetized, so
copyright.
let them chase after
what? It's not going to come up now, and I had it ready to go, and it's.
Well,
look,
there
it is.
Oh, yeah, it's meant to be.
Can you? Where do I point it?
Point it right at the camera there.
Right here.
So yeah, I don't know if you can see, but there's
there it is.
Pause
but
if you want to zoom in, but
it's Proverbs 22:6, right? Train your child up in the way he will go. But it talks about, it's not a surprise to God, and I feel like this is what I talk with my friends a lot about, like, because they'll come to me with these things, and I'm like, remember, it's not a surprise to God that the world is the way that it is.
Right.
And do you believe that God is sovereign? Do you believe that God gave you your child in walking through this for a specific purpose? Like, he created Daniel knowing he was going to be in the lion's den. Like, he created David to fight Goliath. Like, it was not a surprise to God. Like, he put those people in the place in the world with a purpose. Yeah. And our children are no different.
Yeah. I don't know if I would say he created him for that struggle, but I would certainly say that he he created them
with a purpose.
Yeah, with a glorious purpose.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when the world threw trouble at it, it was inconsequential to the ending. Like it changed. It didn't change the ending at all. Have you ever watched Indiana Jones? You ever watched Indiana Jones movies? No.
I know about them, but
in the third one, he finds the Ark of the Covenant and does all this stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a fan theory, or not really a theory, someone pointed out. I think it was the Big Bang Theory really made it famous, but it was running the internet before that. That Indiana Jones could have, or Harrison Ford could have not been in the movie, and it would have ended exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's
okay.
He was inconsequential to the storyline.
Right.
You know, and so, because I have this conversation with people all the time where they'll say, when God wanted to make David king, he sent him Goliath.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the argument. God anointed David king in 1 Samuel 16, and Goliath came in 17.
Yeah.
So, the argument is, not to be a jerk about it, but, that because I correct people on the internet because it annoys me, but
you're a troll on the internet.
No, the point is
that's not how it is.
When God wanted to make David king, he made him king because he's God,
right?
And he gets to do that.
Yeah.
Goliath was inconsequential to the storyline. He brought Goliath. Goliath shows up and he challenges the Lord, and David's like, "No, my God's greater," and then proved it. You know, and so. So it's that kind of thing where we say to our kids, no, you trust and you lean on the greatness of the Lord. The problems will sort out.
Right.
You know, and so for the parent, I'd argue the same thing. Oh, what happens when I let the arrow go? Well, in the, when the, Psalm 127, if we're going to lean on that, where it says like arrows in the hip of a warrior or in the quiver of a warrior. So children are their parents, or something along that line. I don't know the exact quote, but or the exact verse. But the idea is that a warrior has arrows in his quiver with intention to shoot them.
That's so good, because in my head I'm thinking, as you're talking about it, the fear, our children were they're meant to be warriors. They're gonna fight. They're gonna have Goliaths. But is their heart prepared in the posture to lean on the Lord, knowing, hey, as a Christian, I'm taking up my cross daily.
Yeah, my God's greater. I'm not
and I think that is the pinnacle of it, is where that they're created with a purpose. They understand their identity. They understand who they are in the Lord, and that God is good, and that He is sovereign, and He is in control. And they're going to face these things, but they're God's greater, and they stand on that.
Right.
And that's their purpose. They're not going to let the fear of the world keep them in a bubble.
Yeah, it's Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, right?
Right.
They were tossed into a furnace, and before they talked to the king about it, and he's like, "You going to bow?" And they're like, "No, we're not. And you can throw us in the furnace if you want. That seems like that's the direction this is going."
Yeah.
And our God is able to save us from it. Now they said that phrase, and I would guarantee you this: I'd stake everything I have on this. They've never seen anyone saved from a fiery furnace. Not once. They have zero evidence to lean on to say oh yeah, sometimes people don't burn up.
Yeah.
Zero evidence, and yet they said hey, I believe that the Lord will rescue us here, and He's able to. But then they say the next thing, which is even if He doesn't, we're not bound.
Right. He's still good.
And so their God was greater in their mind, no matter what happened to them.
So. What was the guy's name that came here a few years ago, and he does a lot with anxiety? Do you remember who I'm talking about?
Oh,
I came to his...
Yeah, Nyman, Doc.
Yeah. So good, overcoming biblical anxiety. And I think that for parents, going back to this fear and this anxiety is what holds us, and Satan just feeds off of that. The enemy just feeds off of that fear, because perfect love casts out all fear, right? That's what the Bible tells us. So we can't have fear and trust God at the same time. I truly believe that. If you are having anxiety and if you are worrying, you're not putting your trust in the Lord.
Right,
and it's
rightly placed fear.
Yeah, fear that's holding you back or keeping you from,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I fear God more than I fear this thing.
Yes.
That means I'm going to lean fully into Him.
Yeah.
And
Exactly. So fear, worry, anxiety, all of that. To say that, where was I going with that? Oh, and he said, like, even if, so, and this is a great transition. So I have always struggled with anxiety. My mom it has been a generational curse. And when I had children, this was like huge for me. And I didn't know what it was at that time. Like, I didn't realize how it had been all consuming, like until the point where Brian was like, what are you doing? This is not normal. And I'm like, I can't put her in a car. What if we're in a car accident? Like, I wasn't sleeping. This is when we had Quinn. Like, I wasn't sleeping because, like you said in your sermon, baby's making a noise. Is it alive?
I better go check. Yeah,
Baby hasn't made a noise.
I
Is
better
it
go check.
alive? You know, like, that's parenting in a
Yeah.
healthy way. And I think that's so good because it makes you have that posture of there is absolutely nothing that I can do.
Well, that's like, I think, there's a real question to be asked about anxiety and parenting, and how much of our control is an illusion. And it's not like we actually don't have that. Like,
You're coming into the dichotomy of releasing arrows here. I'm not sure I'm ready to.
like I don't actually have control when they're in my quiver. Nope. And so, so we see a lot of parents who decide, like, you know what, I'm going to just tighten down, and I'm going to get control
over everything.
Yeah.
And it's a hard place to be. It's a place that, like, I feel like we're drawn to because that's our sinful nature.
Yeah.
Like, that's not being submitted to the Lord. Yeah. And so the enemy is just going to grab onto that and fuel that stronghold. And so for me, having kids, it was like this all-consuming fear of trying to control everything until we had our miscarriage.
Yeah.
And so that was about 6 years ago.
Now, before you start, like, as we're talking about the illusion of control and like all this stuff, you are married to the person that should ensure that would never happen.
Right.
You're married to a doctor of, I can't remember the
OB.
I don't know what the OB stands for.
Obstetrics. That's the baby part.
Yeah.
Where women that have babies, he delivers babies. He cares for women that are pregnant.
That's what he always says. He's like, pregnant. I know what to do with the baby while it's inside.
No idea when it comes out.
No clue when it's out.
No clue when it comes out. No. And like, what an illusion for me, being like, all right, I'm going to have a baby and my husband's a baby doctor. And I like, what's wrong with it? I don't know. It's outside the womb. I don't know. Like, I can operate on it inside the womb, but I don't know when it comes out. Yeah. So, so we had Quinn and Ellie.
Yeah.
We're trying for our third baby. And I mean, in just the thickness of anxiety and to the point where it's been my stronghold forever. And by the grace of God, through this testimony, I've been totally released of that.
Yeah.
But again, it's trials and hardships that break those strongholds. So I would go to bed at night, and Brian does a lot of overnight shifts sometimes. So I'm very used to being home by myself, but anxiety huge. Okay, there's one of me, Quinn in this room, Ellie in this room. What do I do if there's a fire? What do I do if there's a burglar? What do I do if someone breaks in? What do I do if something happens to me? Like, they're 4 and 2. They don't know how to unlock my phone yet. Like, what do I do? And I would lie awake at night and just
ruminate in that. Yeah.
To the point where it was exhausting and it was all consuming. During the day, I'm like, Brian's not going to be home tonight. My parents live 15 minutes away. Like, what's my game plan if something happens to me? Or like, just these all consuming thoughts, to the point where it was all that I thought about. And like, I felt convicted about it all of the time.
Oh yeah. Cause then cause now not only like, one of the most apt names for our adversary is the accuser of the brethren. And Shane has a great song on this called Embracing Accusations. It's just fantastic. But
they're so good.
So he's first of all, he's planting seeds of doubt in your mind that you are not enough to take care of your children in the event of an emergency.
And if I could do anything.
Right.
As if I had control over that.
Right.
Right.
And then
But I thought I did if I had it planned out.
Yeah.
And if I thought about it enough and went through every detail of every scenario, it's the downward spiral, right?
And he just keeps chipping away at that.
Yeah.
Hey, here.
Yeah.
And then also you're going to screw him up anyway, even if this event doesn't, like he's
Yep.
in the mix. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we get pregnant with James, and we're all excited, and we go to our first appointment and our first ultrasound, right? And of course, Brian's there. It's in Brian's office, and I could tell the look on his face.
Was he in Clarion at the time?
He was in Clarion at the time. I could tell the look on his face was not a good look.
Yeah.
And the ultrasound tech, she, was like, Dr. Doverswag, do you want to look at this? And I was just like, I can read my husband like a book, right?
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, what's wrong? He's like, some things aren't looking right, but it could just be that we're super early and our dates are off. So he's like, I don't want you to worry, but like we're gonna sit on this for 2 weeks and then bring you back. But I need to make you aware, doctor mode, right?
Mm-hmm.
I need to make you aware that there's a possibility that this pregnancy is not viable.
Okay.
And I was like,
Now you said pregnant with James.
Before James.
Before James,
Oh,
okay,
before.
okay.
Did I say pregnant with
You
James?
did,
This was before James.
Okay, yeah, I was real confused. I was like, maybe there's twins.
No, sorry, that was my fault. So, yeah, this was third pregnancy.
Okay.
And I was, crashed out because I had always told him, and I had always said, my number one, that everybody's got a number one thing that I do not think I could come back from is losing a child. Like going through a miscarriage. Have said those words out loud.
For sure.
Said those words to him.
To that person, yeah.
To Brian.
And now he has to inform you that this is where he's seen this before, and this is where this is headed.
Yeah. And like he knew, and he says that's the part that like ate him alive during that is he knew that would be the number one thing that like he never wanted to tell me because I had said so many times before, like God put this on my heart, right? To be a mom, like he would never do that to me because I couldn't come back from that.
Right.
Like I couldn't imagine the unbearable pain, and I felt it at that moment. And I was like, you know what? No.
Yeah.
This is going to be a faith story. This is going to be part of
we're
my
gonna come
testimony.
back.
We're going to go back in 2 weeks, and like there's going to be a healthy, viable baby, and like I'm going to share this all over with my friends and just give God all the glory.
Oh, high five.
Little did I know I would still do that, but with a different way. So for those 2 weeks, I prayed like I had never prayed before. Brian and I prayed like we had never prayed before. We prayed for this healthy baby. And to the point where I literally had to, I remember it so vividly, and it's the first time I had ever like prayed like this, face down, like on my knees, tears, nothing left to pray.
Right.
It's going to be, and I was like, even if God, I'm giving it to you because
It's all yours.
here's the thing, I have no control over this.
Right.
And at that moment, he broke me. Like he just was like, you're right.
Yeah.
But I'm going to show you how I'm going to take your hand and gently walk you through this point in your life that you said you could never overcome.
Yeah. It was your valley, shadow of death.
And use it for your glory. And he spoke those words to me. And there was a song, I can't remember who it's by right now. It's called In the Waiting. And I just listened to it on repeat for 2 weeks, day after day. And we went back in 2 weeks later for that ultrasound. And I looked at Brian and I was like, it's okay. Like I had perfect peace because they told me like it was a non-viable pregnancy. I had miscarried. It was that I was going to miscarry and that it just wasn't a viable pregnancy. There was no heartbeat and I was okay.
Yeah.
And from that moment on, I can honestly say this, I've never had another moment of fear or anxiety over my children.
Yeah.
Praise God. And even if.
Yeah.
And it was like, that's what I needed to break that chain. God needed to walk me through that space that I said I would never overcome.
Right.
With my husband, who should have never had to tell me those words. And it is a huge part of our testimony.
What'd that do for your marriage?
I can't describe it. There's no words. The only thing that I can say is that was the first thing that we had to go through that we both needed to lean on Jesus first with.
Yeah. How cushy are we in America?
Yeah.
Like that
The
we
very
don't
first
deal
thing.
with stuff. And like, because there's people out there that are like, yeah, we went through that too, but before that we had like a month where we had hardly any food, you know?
Yeah.
And you're like, we had to deal with some stuff. And like,
This
but
was
here we are.
the very first thing in our marriage that we had ever even had conflict about, or
Did you feel equipped to handle that?
not at all.
No.
No.
We're off script now. I'm sorry. It's
No,
just,
no,
yeah.
no. And this is what I wanted to get into because it's such a huge part of my testimony and why I feel so strongly about parenting and talking about this and the fear that surrounds letting go.
Yeah.
And it was God walked me so gently and so powerfully through those 2 weeks
Right.
that were it's the hardest in our marriage to this
Yeah.
day. Just because Brian didn't know how to comfort me. And I was like, you should be the one to comfort me. Like, you can do this with other women. You do this with other women on the daily, where he's telling me how he's, you know, he prays with these women that are passing, you know, along
Yeah.
their
but
child.
he's not mourning beside them.
And so
You know
he
what I
didn't
mean?
know, and he's
Yeah.
very internal. Like,
Yeah.
he's got a good doctor face. He doesn't process things with me, and so he knew what the next
Yeah.
couple of weeks would look like, and he didn't know how to step in there. So then I felt like he was
You're abandoned in the midst
told,
there.
like,
and-
you
yeah.
should be the one that's comforting me. And God's like, no, that's me. That's
Yeah.
my job.
Yeah.
And so God worked through him through that. God worked through me through that. And now it is such a huge, I can't tell you the amount of people that I have shared my testimony through this with that have helped them. I can't tell
It's
you
insanely
Brian
common.
and his job, how he's been able to look women in the face and look husbands in the face and be like, my wife and I have walked through this.
Here's
and
what it
I
looks like.
know,
Yeah.
can I pray with you about
Yeah.
this? Let me pray the prayer that I prayed
Right.
for you, and has just opened up so deeply on another level.
Yeah.
Him and his job, and like me as a mom, that moment that I never thought
Right.
I would ever get through
Right.
to just bring, and
Yeah.
even if.
And the
so
reality
it's just,
is that
it's I get emotional because it's
yeah.
the biggest God moment of my life.
And there you were in your childlikeness, where you were Quinn and Ellie, you were the 2-year-old and the 4-year-old in the
Yeah.
fire, and you just didn't know the way out.
Yeah.
And I have no clue what to do, and how do I
Yeah.
even call for help? I don't even know how to do that. And the Lord said, "It's okay. I've got you."
Right.
Like,
Right.
because Quinn and Ellie, I guarantee you, not one night laid awake and wondered what would happen if there was a fire.
Right. No,
know,
no,
like-
not at all.
And,
not at all.
and so you and Brian got to be childlike in that space where it's like, Lord, take my hand. I don't know the way. I have no clue what to do, but I trust if you're holding my hand, it's going to turn out.
And that looked like a puddle of tears, face first,
Oh, sure.
on my floor,
Be afraid.
in complete
It's okay.
surrender.
It's okay.
In complete surrender. Like, and it so good. And
Yeah.
to the point where now I can confidently say, like, if God would take me back to that moment and he would say, do you want me to fix this for you? Do you want me to change it? I would say no.
You say no?
I'd say no.
I'm going to push pause real quick. Time out. My battery's about to die.
Oh, you better plug it in.
Yeah. And then we'll... I'll edit this out. I don't think I edited out the other one. I unplugged it. I just forgot to
Turn it on.
There it goes. Okay, we're good.
So, yeah. So such,
Hold on a sec.
yeah.
All right. Go ahead.
So such a moment of just, even if, but I had to give up control because what could I do?
Yeah, well,
What could I do?
what
There
am I-
was
yeah.
nothing that I could do in that moment. That was God's choice to take that baby. And even if there was that, like, I had no control over that, none
Right.
whatsoever. And it was just, that was my release. That was now my children. That was my it moment where I knew. And I found a verse. Is it Psalm 3 or Psalm 5? I can never remember. But it says, David wrote it, and he says,
course
I
it
lie awake. What is it? I go to bed and sleep in peace. For you alone, Lord, keep me safe. I pray that over my children, and I go to sleep every night.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I have for 6 years now.
And then I'm mad when they wake me up.
Yeah.
Like, what are you
And
doing in my room?
It's like that moment, these wires, that moment was so good for me because God was like, no, there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
There's
And that's
nothing you
okay.
can do.
Yeah.
Because they're mine and
Yeah.
they're mine first. And even if I'm still good.
Yeah.
And when I said that and believed it in my mind and felt it in my heart, that changed my parenting.
Right.
And that changed Brian's parenting because of that moment. And so when I think about releasing the arrows and putting them out on mission, that's what I think about is this is really, I can do my best here and I can do what God's called me to do, but they're his first.
For sure.
And apart from him, there's nothing that I can do.
Yeah.
Like, he's either going to get a hold of their heart or not. And I'll do my best to lead them and I'll do my best to steward them and to show them the Lord's face. But at some point, if I release them and they turn away, that's on them.
Yeah.
And
they're
that's
making their own
so
choices.
hard.
Yeah.
That's so hard as a parent.
Yeah. Surrender and trust, those are hard things to lean into. And, and it's, because something like just the reality is something shaping your parenting, something, and it's either going to be the Lord who's like faith, hope, trust, leaning into him, letting him be letting him be your source of truth, so you can be the source of truth to your kids and pass that down, or fear is going to shape it, and I'll tell you, fear is a much more ruthless shaper than the Lord is.
Yeah.
Because fear didn't keep you awake. Fear kept you awake all night.
Yeah.
Fear made you question everything. Fear made you mad at Brian because he screwed up. It was, and not even when he did screw up, it was just he screwed up your way that you were afraid of losing control over. It was like, okay, so like this has just been an absolute beating that I've been walking through, and then you tackle on top of that, you're never. That like I could never do this.
Yeah,
and
it was like all at once,
Yeah.
which that's the way God works with me. I'm an all or nothing. I'm 0 or 100%.
Yeah.
And God knows that. And so he just hit me big and was like, okay, we're going to break this. And,
Yeah.
thank
And your kids
goodness
got
he
to
did.
watch that journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much more I could talk about it with because, like I had mentioned before, my anxiety was crippling over my children. Mm-hmm. And then Quinn struggled with anxiety.
Yeah. I remember that. Like
To the point where we had her at the altar and in therapy.
Yep.
And
I remember praying over here at church. And then, and
Yeah.
her seeing, Jess
Mm-hmm.
doing some play therapy. And,
we didn't think she would go to kindergarten.
Yeah, I remember that.
We didn't think she would go to kindergarten.
Yeah.
And they wanted to medicate her.
Yeah.
And we were like, she's 5, not the direction that we want to go. And the Lord just stepped in and scooped her up.
And put faithful people who love Jesus, who know Quinn and love Quinn in the school that she was going to be going to.
I could cry for days about, like, I could do an entire podcast on her overcoming and how the Lord taught me through that too. But now she doesn't have an ounce of anxiety in her.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's not a morning person.
No.
I've noticed when I drive him to school, sometimes I'll be like, Quinn, how's your day? And she's like, good. And you can tell like she is not, and she's telling me what I want to hear. Her day is not good.
But just one of those things again where God just steps in.
But there's no fear going to school. She's not having a fit because
gosh.
she's worried. Like she'll jump right in my truck and go.
She went away to church camp last year, and like I couldn't even get out of the car to pump gas at one point without her having a full-blown panic attack to the point where like it scared Brian.
Yeah.
And he was like, what do we do? And I'm like, we take her to the altar, let's go.
Right.
But I mean, again, we could get into my second favorite topic other than parenting is spiritual warfare and how influential that is in parenting and how to combat that. And I mean, fear is the main thing, like surrounding parents and letting go of their arrows and the fear of that loss of control and what that's going to look like. And you've just got to trust God and you can't have both of them.
And I'll tell you, in my experience, fear and anxiety, seeking control, desiring comfort, I think those are elements of spiritual warfare. But I would argue that in a lot of ways, what we don't see is that America is deeply under the thumb of spiritual oppression in the way that it is so comfortable here that we never have to rely upon the Lord. And
So good.
so,
Yep.
so he, our enemy, in his spiritual warfare, his tactic is ensure that they never experience discomfort. You know, because when discomfort comes and when difficulties arise, it forces their eyes to look
It's
upon
breakthrough,
the sovereign
right?
one.
I mean,
who
it's
can carry
breakthrough.
us. Yeah.
It's breakthrough.
Yeah.
And when you can step into those moments of humbling yourself and surrendering yourself completely, like with the testimony of the miscarriage, that's when God steps in. You know, and those are parenting moments too. Like, don't be afraid of, like Eros talks about this, like when you're on mission, which is when they talk about, and like Eros getting ready to release your arrow and
Yep.
letting it be on mission, letting your child be on mission and do what your child was created to do, which is to be a disciple,
Yeah.
to further God's kingdom. There are ways that you pray through that. There are ways that, like, your child is on mission, and it's just getting back to that understanding that God is in control of that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's what I was saying, is like that idea of like, and the Lord will oftentimes, almost always, and we think like, oh man, and I just want to open people's eyes. Like, I say this all the time, like, everyone looks through a straw at the world, and that's all they see is what is in their straw, and they don't see it any other way. And like, can you stop for a second and zoom back and see like how good of a tactic it is to ensure that you never have to lean upon the Lord?
Yeah.
Like, and that God will oftentimes touch the thing in your life that harms you the most.
Yeah.
And that hurts you the most. And it's the thing that you usually it's centered around the thing you love the most or that you desire most. And so, like, I think of like I think it's John 4, woman at the well. You know, she's you know, that she comes to Jesus, shows up, and he like goes there. He's like, hey, we're going to Samaria.
It's just like pushing the button that you don't want to see.
Well, yeah, like even if you back it up a little bit, he's like, hey guys, we're going to Samaria. They're like, oh, you mean like we're going to go around? He's like, no, we're going through it, which was abnormal for them. So they walk through Samaria. He says, hey, go into town and buy some food. I'm staying here. I have an appointment. Like, Jesus was there to meet her.
Yes.
And then, you know, like you said, you know, he says he walks straight into the thing that hurts her the most. Like, so what does she desire most? Like, we can infer. She wants companionship. She wants some security. She wants to belong. And so she has not been able to find that.
Yeah.
And so her greatest fear is being alone, being on her, you know, and Jesus comes and he says, can we talk about it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I put this out there. I would love to hear, because I've never heard one, of a testimony of someone whose like pivotal moment in their faith wasn't a trial, wasn't a dark place.
Right.
Because I've not heard one.
Yeah.
Usually it's in the time that you felt God the most is not going to be like some, I would bet is not going to be some like, I mean, you can feel, I guess maybe I shouldn't have said it that way. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
I do,
though?
yeah.
Like,
now, I will say most people have that pivotal turn in trial, and then they can look backwards and see his goodness, that he's been wooing and leading and seeking to bring them. And then he gently and lovingly walks them through something where they are forced to turn their eyes to him.
Yeah.
And when he, in fact, has been there the entire time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's always those moments of like you said, you keep it comfortable, you keep it safe, you stay on the mountain.
Yeah.
The enemy's going to leave you alone because
I think he wants you there. He's placing you in those spaces where he's like, why would our enemy, like, because in America, like this, in the space, and like we exist in a culture, and so in our culture, the demonic and the crazy supernatural are just not things that we're really accustomed to seeing. We don't really have voodoo here. We don't lean into some of those other things, those other like kind of black arts and that sort of thing. So it's not a part of our culture. So here it's different, right? Like he's going to come at us in those ways of comfort. Like he's going to ensure that you never have a hardship. He's going to ensure that you can lean on your own understanding. He's going to make sure you don't lose your job and that your job pays well and that your car doesn't break down. Like he's going to help in all those spaces. Because that is him enslaving you to that.
Yeah.
Now, I've been to other parts of the world where that stuff like the black stuff and all that stuff like happens,
Mm-hmm.
and it shows up there.
Yeah.
And so you're not going to say like there's not like we can't keep house moms in their 40s from crossing the border. How are we going to keep demons out? It's not like we're so good at keeping them out.
Yeah.
No, they're here. I just think that the practice here is comfort, and so a lot of people, though, the moment hardship comes,
especially when it's with your children.
Yeah.
Like, as a mom, it's, and I'm sure you feel this as a dad, when your child is going through something that you can't control.
Yeah, I have no clue.
That you can't fix, you don't have any choice but to surrender it to the Lord.
Right. Well, but people do try to, like, they either try to medicate it out, they try to find ways to get this thing under control, because, and the reason is, like, and no one wants to say it, but the reason is I had a comfortable life, and then you started doing this thing.
Yeah.
And now I need you to stop doing that same thing so I can go back to my comfortable life.
Because it's interrupting your comfortable life.
Right.
And isn't that parenting?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
The person that invented, have you seen the hot plates for coffee? You put your coffee on a hot plate?
Yeah.
A mother's dream, right?
Yeah.
Because how many times?
Because you've never drank a whole cup.
No.
This morning I was drinking my coffee and I was reading. And
the interruptions.
Micah brought me a magnetile in a clip. I don't know why, but in his mind, he clipped it in like a chip bag clip. And we only have chips in our house. But like, I don't know where the clip came from. But anyway, he walks over with it and dropped it in my coffee and it like everywhere.
Yeah.
And I was like, "What are you doing, buddy?"
Yeah.
And he's like, "I brought that for you." I'm like,
yeah.
Thank you. So now I have 2 magnetiles actually washed, cleaned, and drying
and ready to go.
But I was like, buddy.
Yeah, that's, I mean, I think of so many ways that like parenting is just such a reflection of, and this is not where we were headed, but of just like God's love for you, and how when you can take it back to being kingdom minded, and how he is just so loving and so good and wants what's best for you because of these rules and these commandments. Like, setting that up in your home is the best way to prepare your arrows to be released. Like, you've equipped them with as much as you can equip them with. You pray over their river of influence. That's what like Arrows talks about, the people that are going to be in their lives. You pray for their friend groups. And I mean, there's a level of like discernment and balance that comes with fear and anxiety. Like, obviously, if you know that like a person that your child wants to go to isn't a safe person, you're going to have spiritual discernment not to send them there. But at the same time, you wake up, you cover them in the protection of the Lord, and you give them to God. And that's the extent of parenting when you release your arrows. It's just literally giving up that control to God.
But you look at like Hannah, she prayed so hard for a child, and then at 3-5 years old, she gave him away.
Yeah.
Like, and you look at Abraham and Isaac. I mean, like another like stellar example throughout
trusting
Scripture.
The Lord.
Like, okay. Like, once again,
there goes my arrow.
I have never seen a child raised from the dead, but I trust that God will do it if he's asking me to do this.
Right.
And so he's like, all right, let's go. Where's the knife? You know, and even his son, like, and golly, like just the, we can go deep and crazy in it if you want, but like the picture of the gospel that it is, I think we're about out of time, but the picture of the gospel that it is of Isaac carrying his own wood and walking up the hill, and there being a substitution and like all that stuff. But again,
what's it come down to? Are you going to have fear, and are you going to cling to your control and know I want this my way? Or are you trusting the Lord?
Right.
Are you obeying what the Lord says? And the Lord is like, you need to give them back to me. Yeah. They are mine first.
Right.
I love them more than you could ever love them. Give them back to me. That's what I want. Which
is the first step in your child giving their own life over to him at some point or another, is them watching you do that with them, and watching you do that with your own life.
Yeah. That's so good.
Yeah. So, all right. It is, speaking of little ones, it's time to pick them up. So,
cool.
so that's part 2 with Miss Shea. If there might be a part 3 if she feels like she has more to share. So
I'll do however.
But it was an awesome conversation. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for coming by, and we'll hopefully keep it going.
Yeah.
Catch you next week.
I would love to do if like parents had questions.
Oh, if you have any questions, you can.
If there's anything that like was said or clarification or questions, like I mean, it doesn't even have to be on the podcast. Like, come find me, ask me, talk to me. But
so because most of the people who watch this are churchgoers.
Yeah.
So if you're a member at Grace, you can come find Shay or come find myself, and I will lead you to where she's at, and you can ask your questions and get your questions answered. But otherwise, if you're not a member of Grace, you can ask your questions to us online. You can reach out to us through the Facebook page or the YouTube channel, and you can ask your questions, and Miss Shay will do her best to answer them for you. But yeah, beautiful conversation about parenting, raising up little ones, being ready to release little ones who, when they go from little to big, and
stay kingdom minded,
and even when they're little.
Just
great conversation. All right, catch y'all next time.